here by day and night. Happy to be also one of the moderators today. But let's go and start introducing our speaker. Thank you, Lenka. Our next speaker is John Ward. Is the ex-CEO and managing director that operates at the crossroads of agile, artificial intelligence, and also business strategy. He lives by the Atlantic Ocean in West Home, England, with his wife Tatiana. Nice to meet you, Tatiana. And he's also a lifelong learner. And currently, he's a principal AI consultant with automation, and it's exploring the application of digital models and AI to foster agility. Recently, he piloted modern working methods using generative AI, recognized as a thought leader by the professional body. The Agile Business Consortium, he is also a member of their business agility think tank. And his presentation today, it's about strategic agility in action, that Izwe transformation story. It's a presentation that explores how Izwe Africa exemplify enterprise agility throughout strategic adaptation, customer-centric innovation, and lean agile management practices. And it highlights the transformation of Izwe operating model to deliver groundbreaking, African relevant, life-changing financial solution across Africa. We will learn about how agility becomes a strategic competence beyond software, enabling resilience, growth, and profitability in a dynamic market. So everyone, let's welcome to our Agile Forum 2026 virtual stage, John Ward. Hello, John.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all. I hope you can see me. There. Oh, hello, moderator. I can see you. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. Well, now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and start to talk to you. What Lenka has given us is the theory, and what this presentation about is a company called Izwe in South Africa, and the CEO was one of the people that was interviewed by Lenka and her team um, a few months ago. So let me tell you when you can see this. And we go there. Yeah, can somebody give me a thumbs up? You can see it.
All good now.
So you can now see it, yeah?
Yes.
Good. Okay, we're going to talk about a company called Izwe, which is a very small company, but nevertheless, tremendous example of the practices of putting enterprise agility into practice. So I'll skip through my introduction because of time. Obviously, I'm a thought leader. I'm working with Agile. I've been working with Agile for nearly 20 years now, and I'm really interested in Agile at the corporate level rather than Scrum teams and individual software teams. Although I have coached those guys and been involved in transformations. The first thing to say is I'm not sharing this as an example of how good I am, rather that I don't want to claim credit. Itsui was a client of mine, and I had the privilege to support them looking at their portfolio planning processes. But I want to use Itsui to illustrate how enterprise agility takes shape in the real world. So all of the agility that you see in these slides is actually from Willy van Zyl, who is the CEO, and also from his excellent executive management team. So let's just quickly remind the foundations, right? We've done, let me just move this out the way. We've done, this is the four values that came through from Lenka's presentation. What you'll see in the Itsui presentation is clear purpose. You'll see that they have got shared enterprise outcomes. The organization was completely restructured in order to deliver their solutions. They are continuously reinventing from everything from incentive schemes to career path planning to new technology through to new market services, groundbreaking financial instruments, brand new in the world, not just in Africa, but brand new in the world, a totally different financial concept of how banks fund small and medium-sized enterprises, completely new. And all the way through this, you'll see human-centric change as a key element of the transformation that Izwe undertook. So what you'll see is that the purpose of enterprise agility is to create resilience, right? You've got all this stuff going on with geopolitical change, sanctions, tariffs, and we've also got the disruption of going on with AI, and so on. And basically, enterprise agility is about creating that resilience, which in turn leads to growth, which in turn leads to profits. So this is not something which is just, nice to have. What enterprise agility about is about life in this 21st century, about how we operate as human beings in commercial enterprises. The adaptability is fairly obvious. One of the things I found very interesting is that people produce plans, but they don't plan to execute. And this the essence of what Itsui did was to focus in on the execution. Having got their revised purpose and strategy, they then focused in on making it happen. And quite a lot of people, I think Lenka said there were 36% organizations had, or CEOs were concerned about the gap between strategy and execution. And this is where project management professionals fit into the jigsaw puzzle. And it's really important that we plan to execute and get those strategic plans actually grounded in reality. The behavior and the systems thinking is part of enterprise agility. Behavior at leadership level, behavior at the individual level, but then thinking through the system, the whole soup, start to finish of the value chain, the creation of new services, the organization, aligning those organizations behind the value creation model is an essential part. But last but not least, we tend to forget that a lot of the elements around agile is around the human side, about harnessing the energy and creativity of the entire team. There was a survey by Manpower, I think probably just before COVID, that said that only 30% of the organization or employees were actively engaged. That means that they thought that 70% of the organization was what they called quietly quitting. And really what we're talking about here is the way in which leaders lead, the way in which they empower teams, creates an energy and an engagement that is far beyond what we've seen with traditional scientific management approaches of, let's face it, the 19th century. So the transformation for Italy, South Africa, here we are. Think about South Africa and the type of environment it is. It's not they call it the third world, but in many ways it's the first world. There's so much going on there, and it's so much. There's so many people and so many businesses and so on. Italy itself was formed in 2004, but their agile journey really started in 2021 with the arrival of their new CEO, Willie Van Seal. Their transformation really happened in 2023. So Willie took roughly 2 years to shape the organization, to get prepared, to start to move the organization in a different purpose. He hasn't stopped. I can tell you now he hasn't stopped. Their organization is moving forward and their growth is huge and they're exceeding their shareholders' expectations. So, who are Itswe? They're a pan-service African service organization. They've got banking operations in Ghana, Zambia, and Kenya. They've got headquarters in um, South Africa, but also in Mauritius. I was trying to get a trip to Mauritius, but so far I haven't managed to do it. The elements of this is that they're looking at business agility. They've embraced agile lean practices and they diversified their product offerings. At the beginning, they were a payday loan company, and now they're offering far greater sets of products that to the marketplace that are truly innovative. They've also leveraged digital capabilities, so they were looking at providing services to what they call the unbanked people in their countries, and basically they've created something called Izwe Pay, which provides a handheld device for people to do credit card transactions and banking transactions and so on. While they're doing this, they've also um, looked at balancing their requirement. They're obviously a bank is a regulated environment, so they're looking very carefully at their regulatory responsibilities, and they are looking at risk from a lens that they take risks. Of course, banking is all about taking risks, but it's incredibly well managed as an organization. So why would they do in the transformation? They a lot of people say, well, we're just transforming for transformation's sake, but basically this transformation is about external market pressures. They were seeing competitive shifts, sorry, and regulatory changes that challenged their traditional source of income. They saw a huge market of people that were not being served by traditional banking practices. And so they organized an approach to address what they called the unbanked people so that they could provide support to those small and medium-sized enterprises in Africa. They've modernized their technology. They've not just modernized the customer-facing technology. They've also modernized their core banking platforms and all the underlying technology in order to provide support and seamless services to customers. The whole essence of what they've been doing is looking at improving speed, increasing the resilience of the organization, focusing in on customer value, and looking at growth across Africa. So, what the key message was in this transformation is a fundamental shift in purpose. The organization was challenged. What, why the executive team really asked the question, why are we here? What are we doing? Why are we in existence? Why are we working together? And they came back as a team to say that they want to inspire progress in the African economies. So to enrich people's lives while progressing. And they realize that people progress through commerce, so they provide the tools for African businesses so that they can build a brighter future. Now, if you remember the first bullet on the enterprise agility um, manifesto that Lenka was just talking about, you see this as purpose. And this is the purpose that ITSWE fundamentally believes in and sees they're very important uh, parts to this. So the brand repositioning unstitched the past organization and created the new organization. We have this organizational purpose. The organization was restructured. So the brand refresh unified the behaviors and the external promises. So you could see not just product development, but customer engagement, how they were supporting customers, and so on. The transformation moved the organization from a transactional lender to provide um, customer uh, products that allow people to develop in the African context. Let me explain that a bit. Africa is traditionally um, using traditional Western orientated banking practices. You know, you need collateral for loans. You typically will take out a 2, 3 year loan or credit cards. But what they found was actually that doesn't suit the African market, and the organization saw the opportunity that individuals and economies in these three countries would grow if they could support small to medium-sized enterprises. So they've created a new banking product, which is almost a daily loan system. So they loan enough money for people to operate during the day. Then they recover their piece and they loan them for the next day. So there's a cyclical service around how they are loaning to individuals. The individuals of taking up, and it seemed be seen to be successful, so successful in fact, that other major African banks are starting to adopt and white label the Izwe solutions and the new products and so on. So this is a fundamental change in their banking market. Enterprise agility, the whole thing is about leveraging the brand, leveraging the purpose, inspiring progress, and the organization moved from basically a sort of uh, I'm going to get a low end banking operation to a top end banking operation because they've moved their premises from you know shop fronts and so on into the business centers in the three countries in which they operate, and this is a major part of their transformation. And what Willie was saying was is if they want the organization to offer high level services, then we've got to give our people the high level environment in which to operate. And there's definitely an example of the way in which he's been managing the cultural change there. The strategic pillars that they had were four strategic pillars: diversification of the services, the new lending model, the digitization. It's We Pay is the first all-in-one point of sale solution. It's been launched in Zambia. Geographic expansion or deepening the reach into each of their markets, and then operational upgrades to be ISO compliant and upgrading the banking systems and so on. The piece I was involved in was the change portfolio, and the reality here is rather than just um, rather than just having a full pile of initiatives. They had 93 initiatives when I was looking at them, and they really focused in on which were the initiatives that were going to deliver the payback, which were the initiatives that were going to deliver the value. And they classified those initiatives into tiers. They used footballing terms such as Champion League, First Division, Reserve Division, and so on. And they focused their governance in on those. So obviously, the Champions League um, activities, initiatives had greater focus than those that were in the reserve division, and some of the reserve division never got onto into execution mode. They were ideas, they were there that were potentially could be done, and they were quarterly reviewing that backlog of work in order to make sure they had the right investments going into the right spaces. They shifted from traditional project prioritization to value-driven portfolio management, and they broke the items down into increments so that they could realize value early. The whole operation here was outcome focused delivery. So I mentioned planning to execute. The whole purpose of that was to make sure that the organization delivered what it was wanting to do in terms of positioning and so on. So, what are the takeaways from this example? the first thing I think I would go for is the clarity of purpose. A clear, inspiring purpose not only inspired the clients externally, but also inspired their employees internally and also their partners. They've developed some of their software with partners. Um, and the partners are also inspired. So, there's that story about the janitor sweeping up, and Kennedy, I think it was, saying to this janitor in NASA, what are you doing? And he said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. Um, this is all about that. They are inspiring progress as an organization. They use that purpose as an anchor for execution. So we quite often produce plans, but this organization not only produced the plans, but they also planned to execute. So they made sure that the working methods and the delivery practices and the way in which they were controlling the governance and so on were all focused in on making sure that the delivery happened, but also dynamically adjusting based on their changing market sequences and so on. The shared purpose reduced the friction. There was quite a lot of siloed um, behavior in the teams. The sales team, the back office teams in the countries. They've spent a lot of time looking at the culture of the organization. They had a super video, which I would love to have shown you, but there isn't time to do it. There's a super video about their culture and how to work together and so on, with a shared purpose so that they reduce the friction between the teams and the frictions between not just the countries, but the head office functions and the support functions in Mauritius. And then lastly, the culture, the coherence of the culture. They've been building and focusing on that cultural development through their staff development plans, through the new accommodation, through the way in which they're managing and planning their incentives and so on. So the whole thing, it shows you the purpose in action. So I would say my insights to this and the things I want to do as a takeaway, and I hope I've recovered the time that you guys have lost a little bit. Agility as a strategic capability. This clearly shows you it's an example, it's a very simple example. What really did doesn't want to become one of these case studies that quoted by McKinsey and so on. He just quietly wants people to understand what they've achieved and use this as an illustration. They enabled their governance. The governance switched completely from gatekeeping um, to supportive approaches, empowering the rapid delivery and so on. It was outcome focused, um, and the funding practices. The organization didn't have a bottomless pit of money, so where they were investing their money, they wanted to make sure they got payback. And last but not least, that enterprise level portfolio management piece is absolutely critical when this organization moves into this type of enterprise agility. So that's the case of Izwe and enterprise agility. I hope that it's been enlightening to you. I don't know whether we have time for questions, but let me stop my share and we can go from there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. And thank you for helping us with the time. I hope you can hear me well now or better.